But that joke also made a lot of people think that I was like very liberal. I never said I didn't like guns. I don't know.
This is Good One. I am Jesse David Fox, senior writer at Vulture and author of Comedy Book. My guest this episode is Ralph Barbosa. We talk about his Don't Tell set in 2022 that really was his breakout, his Netflix special, Cowabunga, and his recent Hulu special, Planet Bosa. All the while, he would continue to post clips online of his stand-up, building his fan base there. And if you watch all of it, you see a comedian maturing and figuring out the things he really wants to talk about. And as we discussed in this episode, with all that's going on in this country, immigration became the thing he really kept on thinking about, and he needed to figure out how to make a joke about it. So here is Ralph Barbosa. I'm here with Ralph Barbosa. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. What is the funniest thing that happened to you this week, or you noticed, or you thought about?
I've just been noticing that my stomach is changing. Every time I get nervous, I have to poop.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't get constipated. I haven't been constipated in a long time. I don't remember when was the last time that happened. Yeah, I poop normal when I'm like on vacation time. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that. I took a couple of weeks off and I was like good, nice and solid. And then yesterday was the first day of the press tour. And I was just like, right before the first interview, I was like, I need to find a restroom.
What is it about interviews that are so nervous-making?
I'm just nervous about everything.
Got it.
But yeah, I don't know. I think like far ahead to the worst part of something. Mm-hmm. So like interviews are dope. And, like podcasts are fun. You talk with another comic or whoever and you have a good time and then people watch it and they like it. But my mind immediately goes to like, what's the worst comment going to be under this video?
Oh. Well, you shouldn't read the comments.
Yeah, I've been doing good about that over like the last week. Sorry, I was eating a sandwich. Yeah, I've been like this last week. I'm good. I'm like 5 days, no comments.
5 days, no comments.
Yeah.
Especially with a special out. If you allow yourself, I imagine it would be just like endless people.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about Hulu is people can't comment under the
thing
they're watching. Yeah.
Coming up on YouTube, it's like every joke.
Yeah.
Especially because you're on YouTube like a couple years in, so people are like, you're just figuring out your voice, and people are like, this joke is bad or this joke is whatever.
Yeah. I feel like I started like headlining too early. Mm-hmm. And also, I blew up thanks to the internet, but I also had to like burn a lot of material, posting it and stuff. But I feel like my fans who like the jokes, like my actual fans, like they like them, which that's good. But they also like, because I think popped off a little early, now my fans kind of have to grow with me. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, it happens with any comedian anyway, right?
Yeah.
I don't think comedians are exactly the same, like when they from when they get to 10 years to 15 years to 20 years.
Yeah, let's back up to the story. So essentially, like, you did a Don't Tell set, and I feel like you were the poster child for Don't Tell sets of, like, how it can be put on YouTube, and for whatever reason, like, the set itself has 7 million views, but, like, every single line of that special has another like clip that does really well.
Yeah.
Do you remember when shooting it, like what you were thinking or what you thought about it?
Cool, man. Texas has not legalized weed. We've been asking them to, and they just gave us more guns. We legalized open carry. We were like, we just want to carry weed. They're like, how about carry a bazooka?
Yeah, I think about it all the time because on the way there, I was like, I'm going to do the jokes that I've already done before, jokes that work, like, and just hopefully this works. I talked to Mark Smalls like a week before. No. I talked to Mark Smalls actually the day after I taped it. And I remember him saying like, it can get you a lot of views as long as you have other like content on your page that makes people want to follow, because that thing will get people to your page, but then if they actually follow or not, that's different, So I was just like, I just want to make sure I'm funny on here or whatever. But right before we started taping, they talked to all the comedians on the show that night, and they were like, do whatever you guys want to do. This is like low stakes, no pressure. If you want to do new material the whole time and you bomb, fuck it. Like if you only like 3 minutes of your 10-minute set, then we'll only upload those 3 minutes. Like, you guys can do whatever you want. And that really relaxed me. So I did like, I'd say a little more than half of the set with nothing but new jokes that I wrote on the way there. Because I feel like a lot of the times I have good luck where the jokes work, like on the first try. If I keep trying to edit them, then I'll just kind of screw them up sometimes. Sometimes, not always.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I feel good about the jokes I just wrote on the way over here. I'm really excited about them. and I usually trust my instincts. Like I usually know when I'm this excited, like it's pretty good.
Yeah.
If I'm not too excited, it's probably not gonna work. But I mean, it worked.
Can you think of which joke in particular you were most excited for?
The stuff about how like in Texas it's easier to get a gun than it is to get weed, and like Cali it's so easy to get weed, but you can't get a gun, you know. But that joke also made a lot of people think that I was like very liberal. I never said I didn't like guns. I don't know.
Yeah, because then in your special you then talk about guns.
Yeah, but it's whatever.
I feel like I will say that I feel like I really like your gun material. Like as a person who's like completely not in a world where lots of people have guns, I thought you just sort of handle it you made it like you capture that it is not an issue necessarily in Texas because just sort of people just have guns.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't have any. Yeah, and I know like people don't like to hear this either, but I don't have any hardcore like opinions or like I'm not very passionate about a lot of subjects. So like when it comes to like gun laws and stuff, like I'm not hardcore into either one. If they're there, I'm like cool. If they're illegal, I'm like that's fine too. But like I don't know how to. I like sometimes not that maybe I don't care enough, but sometimes I do wish there was like a. What do they call it? Like an advisory before like a clip starts. Like, by the way, I'm not pushing any politics here.
Yeah.
Like, because people take it and run. But that's also what's given me a career, I guess.
Yeah. What is it? I think because for a lot of comedians who will touch about whatever subject, what motivates them is like, oh, I care about this, so let me talk about it. How do you know where the joke is when you're like, well, this is ultimately not an issue that I have an agenda about, but like I'm aware I have thoughts related to it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think most of the stuff I talk about, it's like, it's only because when I thought about it, my mind went here with it. And I'm like, oh, I could use that on stage. It's very rare when I talk about something on stage and I actually have like a harder opinion on it. And if I do, I think I typically say something like on stage about it.
Yeah.
I don't record it and put it out there, but I'll probably. I like to, what do you call it, like break the fourth wall on stage every now and then and like give people a little behind the scenes of a joke sometimes.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like as a comedian, my job is just to get you to laugh. Like it's not to push you one way or this way or like kind of push politics, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm a fan of comedians who do get political and like can make you think about stuff, but I just don't think that's my style.
Yeah. It was interesting watching the specials because it does feel like, at least in one issue, you do feel like, okay, well, this is a thing that I will go a little bit further, at least acknowledging my opinion about it, which is sort of immigration broadly. And I want to talk about those two jokes that come at different parts in the special a little bit because it is interesting in contrast to sort of that perspective in it. So I just want to back up a little bit to capture, for people who don't know, like what your upbringing was like. Because it seems like you have family members of different immigration statuses. So I wanted to sort of capture that. Growing up, did you go back and forth to Mexico a lot? Do you have a story that captures sort of what your relationship to Mexico was?
Yeah, I used to spend my summers in Mexico. And my grandma, because I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandma would take me down there every summer, and we'd go to about 2 or 3 different cities wherever I had relatives, and she'd pick up all my cousins. So it'd be like 5, 6, 7 of us, and she'd take us back to her house in Mexico, and we'd spend like 2 months down there just having the time of our lives, you know? And I remember what would suck to see, and maybe this is one of the reasons that I do kind of take that subject a little more serious. What would suck to see is that my cousins they're kids, you know, they're like my age, and they'd go with their parents to try to apply for permission to come and spend the summer with us in the States, for once. And because me and my cousin who lived in the States would tell them stories about like, oh, well, we have this over there, we do this, you know. So they would apply, and I remember like the first few cousins that didn't get approved, I remember they just like, I was waiting outside their front. I was like playing in the porch or whatever. We're all outside. And when my cousins get back from applying, and as soon as they got out of the car, we're like, how'd it go? And they just like broke down crying. And I don't know. It's like I can understand when people are like, you know, come to the country legally and all that stuff. And it's just like, man, but I just think about like people like my cousins, like they're not gonna come over here to like rape anybody.
That's fair. Is that when you first realized that there was a difference between your cousins, at least in terms of like how America?
Yeah, it also was just like, man, I want them to. I didn't. And looking back on it, maybe it's not the best way to think, but I was like, man, I want them to see how nice my house is. Like, we have to use the outhouse in Mexico a lot, and it stink. And even when we had a restroom inside, sometimes it'll be stinky. Like, it's just, I mean, it's fun. Like, I love going to Mexico, but I wanted them to see like how luxurious middle class was in America. Like, I'm like, dude, it's the shit over here. Like, it's badass. And it's just like, I'd like to see it one day.
It's interesting because you're a kid, so it's like you have a kid's understanding of like once they see our bathrooms, they'll be like, wow, I don't think I'm cool because I live in such a nice bathroom.
I mean, eventually they did get to come and they loved it, man. We take them to like, what is now considered like the cheap arcade, like neighborhood arcade, but to them they were like, this is nuts.
Did you, especially as you started building a fan base over the last decade or so, did you feel a pressure to talk about it?
So if you're dating somebody and y'all start to get serious, eventually y'all gotta travel together. It's gonna happen. But that can be tough on your pockets. That's why I only go out with girls who are here illegally. Undocumented women, y'all are done traveling.
I didn't feel a pressure to talk about it. I do think that every now and then, when it'd be on my mind a lot, it's one of the only subjects or one of the only jokes that I've written from like a place of maybe like a little bit of anger.
Yeah.
But when like the first versions of those jokes really sucked because I was so like attached to it and put so much emotion behind it. I think that it didn't get funnier until I like when I talk about that law that they had in Texas. I don't know if it's still a law or not. I just stopped paying attention to it, to be honest. But it's the SB4 law, it was ridiculous to me. Like I was angry at it, and then I was just like, what's the word? Like flabbergasted.
Yeah.
That it said, the police near the borders would arrest people who look suspicious of being illegals. Like, that is just insane.
Yeah.
To say someone looks suspicious of being an illegal, like, that's just, I don't know, that's just nuts. So, like, if I just took my emotion out of it and just paid attention to the details, they were easy to make fun of anyway.
Yeah. Do you remember what the earlier versions of the jokes were?
Not really. I just remember trying to work it out, and it wasn't funny at first. It was just me kind of like using the crowd as therapy to be like, can you believe this, that they're doing that, you know? What helped me sketch it out was in the special, the joke I do before that, I think, where I talk about like I'd be okay getting arrested and like a cop beating me up if he was like complimenting me.
Yeah.
My buddy helped me make that joke when we were in Austin because it actually happened to him. The cop grabbed him and then called him boss. And I thought of like the joke. I was like, and I told him he should say it first, but he's like, nah, you go ahead.
Yeah.
But like that joke kind of helped me write the other one better.
Yeah.
Because I thought of a way to do the callback, and then it helped me like kind of like filling in the middle. Because I did that joke, and then I thought of a good like ending or punchline, and then worked backwards from that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so the which joke are you referring to in terms of the...
I do a joke where I say that...
seen especially, yeah.
I say the other day I walked out of a bar, and when I tried to go back in, a cop grabbed me by my arm, and he was like, whoa, you can't go back in there, boss. And I'm like, man, I didn't like that he grabbed me by my arm, but he called me boss, you know, like at least he knew. And that kind of made me realize, like, if... I'm usually like afraid of authority. Like if a cop was to like arrest me and get racist to me, like I'd probably get really scared. But if a cop was to like start hitting me or something, but complimented me, like I'd probably just let it slide.
Yeah.
And I said like if a cop slammed me up against the wall and was like, I bet you get a lot of pussy, I'd be like, all right, like fine, take me to jail, you know. So then once I started doing that joke, I started thinking again about like the SB4 law and how they're looking they can arrest people who look suspicious. And then I thought like, I'd be offended if they thought I look suspicious. But then I was like, nah, not if he was like, hey, you pussy magnet, like, you're going back to Mexico or something. Like, then I'd be like, all right, fuck it, like. So then once I thought of that like little connection, I was like, oh, I can just kind of work it backwards then and start doing the SB4 joke again, but end on that.
Yeah. So then it's a little bit, this
and just kind of fill in that part now.
And then there's also the joke about how you want to date undocumented women.
Yeah. I feel like that's me poking fun at my own people.
Yeah. Can you explain the basic premise? You have to do the whole thing, but
the basic premise was just that like women love to travel nowadays, and instead of dating somebody seriously and spending all the money traveling with them, like you could save a lot of money if you dated somebody who can't travel, So it's better to just date undocumented women.
Yeah. So where did it come from?
It came from. I just kind of noticed that growing up, I've had different either relatives or friends who like were dating somebody who was undocumented, and that always became a problem in some way or another. Like it's like maybe one of my cousins was worried that like their boyfriend or husband might get deported if they got pulled over one day, or I would like to take a trip. Like I was dating a girl and I did invite her on a trip once, and she was like, I'm like scared to travel. And so it kind of came from that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever like actually been like, this is a cheap way to do it. Like, I just kind of thought that was a way to like make fun of them. Like, but only, I know this might be mean to some people, and I've only done it with my loved ones, but I have loved ones who are undocumented, and I've made fun of them in that way before. So it kind of came from that, but I'm just kind of like bullying them, but out of love, and they know. But I really only do it with like, when I do those jokes, I really was only doing it with my loved ones. But then I was like, man, fuck it, I think I could do it on stage and get the point across that like I'm just fucking around. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that comes through. That the other joke we'll talk about, which is the joke about both of the jokes come from like, I love the people that I am talking about, and as a result, I'm talking about like friends. That talk about the type of people, how you joke around with your friends, and talk about, opposed to like a foreign subject. I think a lot of comedians, when they talk about this stuff, it's all like like immigrants, blah blah blah. Where you're like, these are just people I know, people I hang out with, people I date, people, my family.
Yeah, I rarely talk about a subject that I'm very like foreign to, or like I don't know anything about that subject. And if I did, I'd heavily emphasize like I don't know about this shit. Like,
so the second joke, you start by making it very clear that you're pro-immigrant. You sort of like make it, you stop the special, be like, I just want to make it clear. Otherwise, I do not have political opinions you should follow. You can vote for whatever you want to do, blah, blah, blah. But there is one thing I do, and you say, I am pro-immigrant, and you explain why. What made you think you wanted to make sure it's explicitly clear that, so you didn't want that misconstrued as you get into the next part of the joke?
I wanted to do that because I've had different jokes that I post on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube where people think that I'm super Republican or I'm super liberal, and I like that it was up in the air. Like I just feel like that's one subject that I was like, I don't want people to get it twisted.
Yeah.
Like I that's one thing that I'm like, nah, you could say whatever you want. You could try to guess where I'm from or guess whatever about me, but like that was just one thing that I was like, man, I don't want that to keep getting twisted around.
Yeah, it also then sets up the twist of the next joke. Can you summarize the basic premise about what happens when you hang around too many immigrants?
Yeah. Nah, that's one of the few, like I'm saying, like that's one of the few subjects I take very serious, and I think over time I'll take more subjects serious. I have more experience and stuff, But this is one of the few ones, and I just wanted it to be known.
Yeah. So you say essentially, when you hang around a lot of immigrants, they shame you for being not an immigrant, for being like soft or like having how easy you get. Does that come from a specific experience?
That comes from my same cousins who like I would feel bad that they couldn't come to the States. When they do come to the States and then we go back to Mexico or like one or the other, like they would make fun of me for not being as Mexican as them, or like they'd be like, "You have it easy, bro. Like you don't even know what struggle is."
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, like I'm on your side. Why are you shaming me? Like,
yeah, I think that's why it works. I mean, because you set it up as you play with the idea that it makes you feel Republican, but really it is just sort of like a very personal slight that you are experiencing. Where you're just like, why are you making me feel bad?
It's also me being sensitive. Like I bully my like cousins who are immigrants, but then that's them like bullying me back. And I'm just like, hey, like calm down, bro.
Yeah, I mean, all the jokes do. It's sort of like, as I said, it's like these are people stories and not just sort of an idea, which I think is like why it was easier for you to access talking about the subjects. Like this is your life, and you're just sort of the things that you notice from it.
Yeah, I thought it'd be funnier just to like say my. I guess I was just trying to give people like a version of like how we bully each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just from my perspective.
Yeah, they don't get to be comedians.
Yeah.
Have your family seen those jokes and been like,
yeah,
you deserve it, you?
Yeah, I think they've seen it.
You say around then, I wish I could be one of the comedians who is like, have you ever noticed how society be doing this? When you say that, like, do you think of specific comedians? Are there specific comedians that you're like, oh, I wish I can be doing, like, can you think of any joke or anything where you're like, oh, I wish I had that?
I can't think of like a specific joke, but I do like I love watching comedians that I think are pretty smart, like Bill Burr, Ricky Gervais, Dave Chappelle. You know what I mean? Like these dudes talk about stuff that I feel like everybody can understand, even if it's not like your cup of tea. Like they're very like broad subjects, and they're going like into detail. Where I don't think I have it in me. Like I think when I hear about these subjects, my jokes, my mind doesn't like joke about it in that way like they do. Like they're making some good points, and I think my mind goes to like I hear about immigration shit and like I can make fun of like the law if it sounds ridiculous enough, but my mind goes more to like the dating illegals can save you money or whatever. You know what I mean?
I mean, as you keep on getting better or doing more comedy, is it a thing that you aspire to? Is there a thing that you think prevents you from talking about more of those subjects? I mean, like...
Nah, I don't think...
Because, like, when Bill Burr was your age, he was not talking about this stuff, and then now he's been doing comedy for 30 years, and then things change.
Yeah, I mean, whatever happens. I don't think I have, like, a set goal on, like, the type of comedy I want to do. Obviously, I want to get better, whatever better it may be. But I just try to like joke about whatever is coming in. Like as I ingest stuff, I just digest it or whatever you call it. But I don't have like a set. This is a horrible analogy, but I don't have a plan for how I want to poop. I just poop it and hope it's good.
The audience tells you which of your poops.
I don't want to give them diarrhea, but like however it comes out, you know.
One example I was thinking about with this is what you bring up special, which is you were on Joe Rogan and you did not know what to talk about the entire time.
Yeah.
Can you tell the story of what it feels like to be sitting down and you're like, all right, you're like, wait, I have nothing to say. And then you realize you have 3 hours in front of you where you have to keep on talking.
I don't think it's too hard to keep on talking. I just know that the conversation is not going to be up to par with a lot of the other people that he has on there, you know, in those conversations. I went on there again the day before yesterday. And again, I was like, all right, like, You agreed to this, bro. Like, here we go. Yeah, yes. The first time I went on there, like, I just talked about whatever like would come to my mind, and I know a lot of the comments under that episode were like, "Man, this guy's not interesting." And then they'd start bringing up other people who were interesting, like the last guy and episode, 300 something. Now that's an episode. I'm like, all right, bro. But the day before yesterday, I did Joe Rogan again, and this time I just asked him a lot of questions. I'm like, you have all the knowledge, bro. Teach me something.
Yeah, you're able to talk for 3 hours.
Yeah,
this is like what you do every day. I don't.
Yeah,
all the time.
So I just asked him about like, oh, what's that about? What's going on with this? I got a lesson, you know.
Yeah. Did you feel like you learned something from it?
Yeah, I learned about this dude in Arizona. He got abducted in the 70s, and I didn't know who this was until Joe Rogan actually had one of his books in his studio, like in the lobby area or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry to anybody who's a fan of this author. I'm sorry I didn't know who it was before. I know it could be like, what, you didn't know who that was? Hunter S. Thompson. And now I'm like in love with Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, that's nice.
But you should have seen Joe's face when I was like, "Yo, Hunter S. Thompson, like that's a dude or a lady?" I feel like it's a valid question to somebody who's never heard of Hunter S.
Yeah.
Thompson. You know what I mean? I grew up with my grandparents, man. They're from Mexico. They're not like, "Hey, Hunted." Like, well, like, forgive me for not knowing. But he was just like, "What? You don't know Hunter S. Thompson?" I was like, "I don't know."
Have you watched what's the movie? His is
The Fear and Loathing?
Fear and Loathing Sin.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I like that movie. That movie freaks me out a little bit too, though. But I think that's a good thing to sometimes get freaked out by a movie, you know,
Yeah.
or like a work of art.
But it is funny that not only did not know him, but since he's been dead, the name Hunter has become also a woman's name. So you're
Yeah.
just processing that aspect of it.
I'm just progressive, is all.
Yeah, that's what it is. I've talked to other comedians like Ali Sadiq who talked about there are certain parts of his life that he avoided talking about for a while because he just didn't feel like he was good enough a comedian yet. He didn't want to be pigeonholed. He didn't know how to talk about it yet. And, you know, like specific for him, it was selling drugs and going to jail and stuff. And I was wondering if there are aspects from your life that you feel like you're not ready to talk about on stage, but you are able to like generally talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe not even generally talk about. Sometimes, like if I'm friends with somebody, I think when I feel comfortable with certain people, sometimes stuff will just come out, whether they're close to me or not. Like if I just feel comfort, sometimes. But there's certain stuff that I'm like, I'm never gonna talk about this on stage. Like that one stays with me. It's a little dark.
Yeah, I guess it'd be hard to be like, tell me what that is right now if the whole point of it is that you don't feel. I mean, like, well, I guess the thing that it's like in your Netflix special, you allude a little bit to the fact that you have family members who were in prison and your father was in prison, but you don't like really get into it. You don't really get into as much. You get how it made you feel, like where, you know, on some podcasts you've talked about like having family that had some connections to the cartel. And I was curious, you know, what that felt like and if it feels like a thing that you could talk about on stage, or does it not feel like your story?
It at first I avoided talking about it on stage because I was so used to, you know, never bring this up. But watching Ali Sadiq specifically made me feel like, you know what, I think I can talk about my side of it.
Yeah.
And I had thought of like little jokes about it before, but I just never spoke them or nothing. But later on, I was like, look, it was my uncle and my dad. It was my mom's brother and my dad who were like involved in this stuff. They've already gone to prison. They did their time, and they said they're never going back to that.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna talk about it now, because if that's true, they're not going back to it, then they have nothing to worry about. Like, I don't have to keep this a secret anymore.
Yeah.
Like, if they've really served their time and they're done, and it's also, in my mind, it was like a weapon, or maybe not a weapon, but like it was reinsurance. Like if I go on popular podcasts and a Netflix and I talk about this, like they can't go back to it.
Yeah,
so even
yeah.
if one day they got tempted, like I close those gates for them. Nobody's gonna want to work with them. I talk about everything. You know?
Yeah.
So that like those subjects was like, this is my way that I can be unique. Let something off my chest.
Yeah.
And like, you know, just make it funny, get some laughs.
Yeah. And what about your own perspective? So like you were young when this was happening. What about your time do you feel like there is also, like your perspective of what was happening that you feel like you can talk about more, right? It's like the Ali story is about what's like selling drugs and going to prison. But like obviously he cannot tell the story of like how his family was perceiving that happen. I mean, in the second special, yes, but that, you know what I mean. But like, can you think of a part of the story that you do feel like you can share more, that you're interested in sort of exploring? Because I do think what you're getting at partly is like, it's not just a thing that happened to them, it's a thing that happens to the whole family.
Yeah, I think the part for me is that like nobody was telling me what was going on.
Yeah.
I could tell by, you know, as I started to get a little older, like 10, 12, I could tell something was like way different than like more families. I started noticing, like, I've never seen my uncle have a job, but I've seen him have the coolest cars, like huge house, like all this stuff. And I could tell though that there was a lot of secrets being kept from me. Like there's a lot of whispering. There's a lot of like, go over here, put on some headphones, like, or whatever. Like, stuff was just odd. But I even, and nobody ever asked me to not talk about stuff because they're doing their best to not even tell me stuff. And nobody ever put the pressure on me, was like, hey, don't ever say this, or hey, don't ever say that, right? And I'd seen some stuff here and there, like with guns or whatever. And even then, they try not to let me see anything. I just kind of catch a peep, whatever. But I just felt a pressure to not say a word, like to anybody about anything, like nothing. And there'd be times where there's like, the kids at school talking about their parents and what they do and stuff. And like, I would not say a word. I would not say. My grandpa worked in drywall. That's all I would talk about. Like, if we were talking about, what does your dad do? Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when I started talking about this on stage, it felt like a huge, like, let my breath out. Like, bro, I don't like secrets. I don't like holding secrets. Nothing. Like, don't ever try to keep secrets around me.
Yeah. Do you feel like that? I mean, this is maybe 2 stars. Do you feel like that part of what fed you into becoming a comedian? It's like you had like 18 years of your life where you had to keep secrets in, and you're like, now I get to pay all this money to let secrets out.
I don't think it pushed me to comedy, but it definitely helped out my comedy.
Yeah, that's true. One other thing that I was really interested in is a couple months back you put up a set about going to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor telling you that you're going blind. It's really a great set, and I was curious about it. Like, can you talk about both going to the doctor's office, getting that diagnosis, and then like seemingly fairly quickly living like, oh, I should bring this on stage, how you approach that?
Yeah, it was just really taking over my mind. And I think sometimes I can, if I don't like, I feel like I joke about whatever's just on my mind or whatever. And I didn't want to talk about something negative, but it's just where my mind went with it. And I also get tired of my own material pretty quickly, so I was just like let me just talk about this and vent to the audience. That doctor really like scared me. Like, he really was. But to be fair, what I left out of that joke was that he was like very much like, hey man, like, you're going blind, like, you need to do something. But then what I left out was that after all that, he's like, but also I'm not. And he's like, I'm an optometrist. I'm not an ophthalmologist. Like, you have to go see a specialist. Right? And I went to see a specialist way later. I did wait maybe too long. And the specialist was like, nah, you're not going blind yet. Like, you're like on the verge of needing like treatments and stuff. Like, they do like laser treatments and like shots in your eyes. He's like, I don't think you need them just yet, but definitely take better care of yourself. Like, you're not taking very good care of yourself. And if you take really good care of yourself, you shouldn't need treatments. At least not for a long time.
Yeah.
He like calmed me down, the specialist. But the first guy was like, dude, DEFCON 4, like, let's get you somewhere, like, go to the ER, like something like that. Dude was freaking me out.
Where you're like, I need to start looking at things. I have a list of things I need to look at one last time.
Yeah. Boobies.
What was the response when you put that up there? Because it is like a pretty vulnerable set.
Neil Brennan reached out, which I thought was cool. I respect that dude a lot. I like his stand-up. I also like his podcast blogs, you know. He was just like, hope you take care of yourself, but just wanted to say, like, that was really funny and like a good bit. And so just who cares if I go blind? Like, if I could just get the respect of a comic that I respect, that's dope. It's sick.
He was the first person I interviewed for this podcast like 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was him and Jim Gaffigan in the same day.
Nice.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I had a few comics reach out about that bit. They're like hilarious. And I was just like, hell yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me, you used to cut hair. And I bring this up because, I don't know if you know this, but part of the legend of when Chris Rock was like rebuilding himself as a comedian in the early 90s. So essentially the story is he was on SNL. Do you know the story? I'll tell the full story. It's such a pretty fun story. So Chris Rock kind of was doing well in New York in the 80s. He gets cast on SNL. It doesn't really work out for him. But he's like kind of well known because he was on SNL. And he does a show in Chicago. And Martin Lawrence is opening for him. And he'd never met Martin Lawrence. He wasn't watching Def Jam. He didn't know that Martin Lawrence was like a big thing. So Chris Rock was in the dressing room and he heard a really loud noise and he thought people were getting into a fight. So he went out to see, and it was just Martin Lawrence was killing. And that was the first time Chris Rock realized people can kill that hard. So Chris Rock then like went on a year's journey to like become a better comedian. And so then he essentially bombed a lot. This was like 10 years into comedy. He decided like, I'm going to rebuild myself as a comedian. He bombed a lot, and he developed all these different processes to try out material. And one was he would essentially go to barbershops to work out premises, and they didn't know. He was just being like, what do you guys think about this? And then just sort of like seeing what people said. This is all to say, one, I was sharing that story because it's a fun story, but also like, how much have you ever gotten material from barbershop? Do you have any memory from the time where you were cutting hair that like helped shape at least your understanding of how people talk?
One of my comedian buddies got mad that I said that the funniest people on earth are not comedians, they're coworkers. Because when I worked at a barbershop, the barbers there were funnier to me. Like the hangout there was funnier to me than the hangout anywhere else. Like I've hung out with a lot of comics, and there's some comics that are hilarious to hang out with. But like hanging out with those guys at the shop is the funniest memories I've ever had. Like some of the funniest memories ever. And they're also, they've been my like biggest critics. The guys that I worked with, shout out to the guys from Oak Cliff Barbers, but they were big supporters. They'd go to my shows and they share my videos. But like they never once would give me props. They're like, you're not funny. Like, you're not funny. Like, and they would tell people like, hey, check this guy out on Instagram and YouTube, but he's not funny. Like, like they were the funniest ones there. They were way funnier than me at the barbershop.
Yeah.
So I definitely think working out material at a barbershop works. I haven't got much material from it. It's hard to explain the stuff I've seen there.
Yeah.
But I think you hear a lot of funny stuff in barbershops. So if something's funny, they'll let you know.
Yeah. It's so funny that they support you so much, but in their supporting would like to remind people that like you are less funny than they are.
Yeah. They tell everybody.
Pretty close to when you filmed the special, your friend and collaborator Ken Flores passed away at the age of 28. For those who didn't know him, can you share a story that captures what it was like being friends with him, doing comedy with him?
Yeah. Ken was a hard worker, and he didn't take a whole lot of care of his health. Mm-hmm. I think the day that I kind of got to know more like what he's about. So I had hung out with him a couple times and got to pick his brain on like comedy. And he was definitely a comedy nerd, and he definitely had a good work ethic. He loved to work out bits. But one day, Renee called me. Renee Vaca. Yeah, he's really the one that would try to like unite me, him, and Ken. One day Renee called me because him and Ken were toured together, and he said that Ken got really sick, and they were performing here in New York. I think at like St. Mark's Comedy Club. And he was like, Ken had to stay back, man. We had to take him to the ER, and he had to stay back. I'm going on to the next city, but can you go check on him or like call him or something? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I have a trip already planned to New York. I'll go early. And so I went and saw Ken in the hospital, and I was telling him that I'm going to go do spots. And I was like, I think one of these shows, Chappelle's supposed to be at one of these clubs. Like, we can watch him and stuff. And he was like, yeah, hell yeah, let's go. He's like, they're going to let me out soon. They're going to discharge me. And so that same day, when he was supposed to like just rest and take it easy, like he came with me to do spots, and he even got on stage a couple times. And like, I was like, man, that's a comic through and through. Like, the dude's in pain, but he's doing his thing. And I thought that was dope. Ken was also, I was always like trying to play it cool with comics that I was a fan of. Like, I wouldn't want to ask him for pictures or anything. And Ken was like, nah, I don't care, man. Like, I'm a big fan of these dudes. Like, I'm going to ask him for a picture. Like, fuck it. Who knows when I'm going to get this chance again? Which I thought was cool. But he also wasn't a kiss ass. And this is probably my favorite thing. Like, I don't get tired of telling people this. Like, he wasn't a kiss ass, which, believe it or not, is rare in comedy. Everybody's thinking if they just, you know what I mean, like really fluff up to somebody that they're going to get some sort of opportunity out of it. Whereas, like, yeah, if Ken was a fan of a person, he'd let them know, and you know, he'd respect them and everything. But even if you were the biggest comic in the world, like if you bombed that night, you know, where everybody else is telling you like, hey, no problem, you know, like Ken would be like, man, you really sucked tonight, didn't you? Like, he didn't care if it was damn Chappelle himself. He would have said something. Like, he would have made the joke or just talk shit to him.
Do you have oh, sorry. You can go.
And I was just saying that I really respect that because what that means to me is that like this is somebody who, however far they got in comedy, they did it off of earning it, not kissing ass. You know?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite of his jokes?
I I really like. I haven't watched his full special. It's a little tough to get through it. Like I don't want it to be over. I really like some of the jokes on his special, but my favorite joke of his has been. It's a longer story. I love the carrot cake one. Look up the carrot cake one on YouTube. Ken Flores carrot cake. But I think my favorite one is one that has not been released yet. We played it on the tour. Me and Renee Vaca did a tour. It was supposed to be the three of us.
Yeah.
Ken passed away literally the day that we were supposed to sign the paperwork to like lock in the tour. But if you went to our tour, you would see that there's like about a 10-minute clip. It's a 10-minute story that Ken does about getting fake butterflies tattooed on him as a kid, like just sticking those vending machine tattoos. That whole story is funny, and I hope that one day it can be released on something like on YouTube, maybe eventually. But yeah, that one, if you ever go see a Renee Vaca show, you'll probably see it, or if you ever go see me and Renee, you'll probably see that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, what was it like doing a tour that was supposed to be all three of yours? Was it?
It's bittersweet.
Yeah.
Renee has like a big team around him with like his brothers and his his other guys, and then I got a team, and our team's bonding. You know what I mean? It felt like camp. Like it's cool, man. But every time that we're just laughing like crazy or having like a great time, we'd all have a moment where we knew like, bro, it would have been just that much better if Ken was here. But I feel like, I mean, I don't know if Renee feels like this, but I feel like Ken was there in spirit. Like there's no way he wasn't there, you know?
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about some of your influences, and specifically, you've talked about Hannibal Buress, and I want to bring it up because I think of Hannibal Buress as like one of the 5 to 10 most influential comedians of like the last 20 years, and I don't think people think of him that way, but like I really think in the short list, he's directly or just sort of inspired people in a lot of the ways he did, and I was wondering, what did he mean to you? What was it about him? Do you feel like
two things that I guess inspired me about Hannibal was one. The first thing was that I had quit going to open mics after. I'd quit like twice. I'd quit like a few months in, and then I quit after like being a couple years in. I actually had almost got on HBO. I opened up for like a special, and it didn't work out, and I was kind of feeling bummed out, and it was also really broke. And I was like, maybe comedy's not for me. Like, this was cool and stuff, and it's fun. Maybe I just do it for fun.
Yeah.
And then it was like on YouTube or something. I saw, I think Judd Apatow put it together, the Hannibal Takes. What is it called?
Edinburgh, yeah.
Yeah, Edinburgh. And seeing the footage of Hannibal listening to his sets and also getting frustrated and talking about how like if you do the same hour every day, like it'll make you, doing that festival will make you better as a comedian.
Yeah.
Just reminded me like, bro, I can't give up. Like I'm being a little bitch right now. Like this dude worked hard at it. Like, and I got more interested in Hannibal after that, and I looked him up on YouTube, and I found this interview. I think he did with like Vice or somebody, and they're like, they said, do you have any advice for people wanting to be comedians? And he was just like, work hard. And I was like, yeah, like that's great advice, but people don't really think about what it really means to work hard. Like he made that his face let me know like how hard you have to work at it, I guess. The other thing that really inspired me about him as I started watching more of his comedy was he's creative. He talks about like anything, and it taught me that it doesn't have to be sophisticated, and it doesn't have to be hardcore or whatever. Like he's just creative, and like he's funny. So it made me want to be more creative and just talk about more random stuff.
Yeah. I think it's the similarity, though. I don't think a lot of people would point it out right away. I do think you both. People observe a little small thing in a social interaction and are able to sort of figure out a joke. But there's one joke you had that I'm like, this literally could have been a Hannibal joke, which is the Quavo joke.
Quavo.
Can you summarize the basic premise of for those? Or
I just really like that song. My friend Jaime showed it to me, and yeah, I feel like I didn't want to like steal a Hannibal joke, but I was inspired by his Young Jeezy.
Yeah.
How stupid, dumb, big. My room's got rooms. He's like, nah, those are closets. And I had been listening to that song for like 6 months, like the Quavo, the Kelly Price. I thought that was such a dope song. It was like, and I'm singing it, but I didn't think of making fun of it until, like the 100th time I'm singing it. Now I'm just thinking about every lyric, like I'm breaking it down, and I'm just like, yo, this dude's driving across country, like. I guess with drugs, I don't know. People have explained it to me. Like people who don't find it funny in the comments are like, "It's because he's driving with drugs, idiot. You have to drive speed limits. So you don't get pulled over." And I'm like, "So what? It's still just."
It's a weird way of saying.
Yeah, but yeah, people like that joke a lot, and I liked it. It was fun to do it. I knew it was a good joke when I did it at an open mic, and it was the first time I got like heavy laughs, and I was like, "Oh hell yeah, that felt badass."
Well, it's a joke. Well, I guess for those who haven't seen it, I guess we need to put a clip where essentially the lyric is about he's going a mile a minute.
Yeah, the first lyrics are, he's like, I go through all the cities. He's like, I'm on a mile a minute. I go a mile a minute. So, that sounds cool, but then you're like, that's 60 miles an hour, bro. Like, I don't know, you're just driving across the country at speed limit. That's all you said, But I guess he said it in a cool way, but... Yeah, once I broke it down, I was like, it don't feel that cool no more.
It is that perfect thing of like a joke that is a reference to a very specific thing, but like you don't need to know the song. It's just something about.
I was also inspired by Norm Macdonald on that joke. I tried it. He has that joke. He did it on David Letterman, where he's like, ID is a weird abbreviation because I stands for I and D stands for identification. So it's just overthinking something.
Yeah. The other thing that I think reminded me is that I feel like people in the comments think you're high all the time or you wrote everything high. It's like, oh, you must have wrote that high. And I feel like Hannibal used to get that for the first like 15 years of his career. It's like, oh, you must write everything high. It's like, no, I got to work really hard.
Everybody thinks I'm high. Like, even this girl I was talking to, we got on FaceTime. And like the third time we were FaceTime, she's like, your eyes are just like that, huh?
I didn't even think about the physical aspect. It's like, oh, people just
people think my eyes are low and that I talk slow because I'm high, but I'm just not, I guess, high functioning. And I've been high on stage. I guess before I blew up, I've been high on stage maybe twice. After I started touring, I've been high on stage a handful of times, but I usually don't like to go high on stage because it's one of those things where it's like I need to be observing stuff to make sure my comedy gets better. So like even if I'm crushing on a show, like if I do anything different, I need to take notes in my mind. I usually people are like, how come you don't laugh at your own stuff? It's like I'm not processing what I said sometimes. I'm like saying something, but then I'm just like, he laughed, like medium. I'll be like, that's about an 8 out of 10 laugh. Like, okay, maybe we're gonna like. I'm just taking notes.
It's so funny because before you started comedy, laughing at your own, you weren't supposed to laugh at your own jokes up until like 2009. It was like not allowed, and then it's funny to think, especially because Chappelle is so famous and Chappelle laughs at like everything he ever says. So it's now reversed where it's like, why don't you laugh yourself like Chappelle? And it just feel like, it's like, well, you're watching me. I'm not watching the show. I'm watching my show.
Whenever I do laugh at my own jokes, they're usually like horrible ones where the audience doesn't even laugh. And I'm just the only one like, this was hilarious.
Yeah.
Shane Gillis kind of explained that. I didn't see this until I didn't think about it till the other day. I was watching this clip where he makes a joke on like women. It's like he's like, yeah, I don't have any female friends because I typically like to go places and have a good time. He's like, what do women even do for fun? Fold stuff. And he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I know that's a horrible joke to the women in the audience. He's like, I know that's a horrible joke from where you're sitting. He's like, but from here, it's hilarious because I just look around and see like 15 women just like pissed off. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, there's certain stuff where you're just like, it's funny to the comedian because you're like, hey, I want a good show. And I'm like, nah, bro, here's some horrible shit.
I think that's an interesting way of thinking about the comedians because this is not necessarily the stuff you're doing, but like the comedians who do piss off the audience one or the other. It's like, oh, I guess if you've been doing it for a while, your like shows can blend other than if you get specific reactions from people.
Like I'm not gonna dedicate my whole show to pissing off my audience, but I do think it's funny to like throw in something here and there that it's like, bro, I have this power because y'all just gave it to me. Like it's like being a DJ.
Yeah.
And every now and then playing just like a horrible song on purpose, just to piss off the audience. Like, but it's because I'm DJing right now. Like, like it's just funny.
That makes me think that like though you found so much success online and specifically from posting like a lot of you always are posting material or like new material. Like I don't think I've seen many times where you're doing crowd work or anything like that. Is it part of? Is that intentional? Is that something especially now that it's become popular that you've avoided?
Yeah, just because I do like doing crowd work. I've had shows where it's more crowd work than material. But I never posted crowd work because I don't want my audience to like expect it. Because I can go like 6 months without doing crowd work, and then I'll get tired of my material and then go into crowd work. But when I'm doing my material, I really don't want people to like interrupt and want to make it about them. Like, you know, sometimes you get a drunk dude who's like just trying to interrupt and like, hey, this is something you can make fun of. And they're like, bro, what are you doing right now? Like, I'm in the middle of something else. So that's why I've never posted crowd work.
Yeah.
But I do like doing crowd work too. I think it's really fun to get to know the people in the audience.
Yeah. Another influence, you've talked about being a big Adam Sandler guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big Adam Sandler fan. Though I realize we're a different generation. So I was curious, what is like the first Adam Sandler movie that you saw that you're like, oh, this is wild. People are so funny.
Little Nicky. Little Nicky is my all-time favorite Adam Sandler movie. That movie I used to, as a kid, like know it word for word. And I'd take it. I had a portable DVD player, and I'd take it down to Mexico and watch it like all the way down. And then when we would get to Mexico, and I had all my cousins over, I'd put it on like the actual DVD player. And I never would translate it to Spanish. I don't even know that was an option. But they would watch it and they would still laugh.
Yeah.
And that movie right there.
Have you met Adam yet?
Once. Yeah, I got to hug him. It was pretty cool. I didn't want to let go. Yeah, he was real nice. I got to do a general meeting at Happy Madison, and he just walked in there. He was like, "Who's this fucking guy?" And I was like, it's nice to meet you. I was like, nice basketball shorts. He was like, yeah. He's like, I had to stretch them out so I could feel thinner. He's like, you don't have that problem, huh? And that day I had to buy a belt on my way there, but the only belt they had was like way too big for me, so I had to poke a hole. So I had to just show him all this extra belt I had or whatever. And he was like, one of the other guys was like, yeah, he's got a Netflix special. Like, he's had a really good couple years. And Adam Sandler was like, that's cool. He said, he was like, is your family excited for you? And I said, yeah, the ones that know English and know what's going on. And he's like, that's great. And then I got up to shake his hand, but he gave me a hug. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How, I know you've talked about how you first thought about you wanted to be an actor before you wanted to be a comedian. How much is acting a goal at this point?
I've acted like in 2 separate roles. And I think it's more of a goal now than it was before, because once I started doing stand-up, like I didn't even go back to acting classes, to the theater program or anything like that. I just really fell in love with stand-up. But now I want to break more into it. I did a commercial for Verizon in Spanish, and I did an episode of Mo, which was like a dream come true. Shout out to Mo Amer, man. Because I was already a fan of season 1. I watched season 1 before I had any type of like right as I started to blow up, I watched season 1. And so for him to write me into season 2 was great. Especially, I love the message of the show. Both of those tapings only took 1 day, but it was like a really tiring day. So I'm afraid of like, what if I land a role that like takes months or something? I got to do that. But I'm also hungry for the experience. But yeah, right now I'm doing auditions here and there, and I'm been watching a lot of like tutorials on like what makes a better actor, like behind like actors interviews and stuff. I'm not trying to be like, what's the dude's name? Timothy
Chalamet.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to be like that, but yeah, I'd like to get more experience in acting. I think it's really fun.
Yeah. What have you learned from any of your online tutorials?
I don't know, just like breaking down the character. Imagine what would make him do and say certain things. I learned read the script as many times as you can. I did an audition last Monday, I think. Yeah, last Monday or Tuesday,
Yeah.
and I didn't get the whole script. I mean, it was just an audition. They just give you sides. So I had like 2 pages, but I think I read those pages like 80 times, and it does help you. Like, I read it the first time like out loud to hear myself how I'm saying it, and by like the 80th time, I think I had it a little better.
Would you leave Dallas? Like, is ultimately all acting work secondary to the fact that you were Dallas?
Yeah, I'd probably leave.
Cool. You'll
Yeah,
show your family.
Yeah. I mean, I'd come back.
No, that's fair.
It's not like they're gonna make me act for a 10-year role or something.
Well, they could. They are.
About a Boy 2.
Yeah.
You ever see that movie?
About a boy with Hugh Grant.
No. Is it About a Boy?
Which one? Oh, Boyhood.
Boyhood.
Got
There
it.
you go. Boyhood 2, where they film it over 12 years.
Yeah, in Texas. So that one you'd have to leave.
Yeah. They do a part 2 on that one.
But it's about you.
Call it Manhood.
Manhood. It's all about your adulthood. One of the things you do in the special, which I've seen a comedian do before, which is you will say a joke. If the joke involves a person who speaks Spanish, you'll first say it in Spanish and then you'll translate it. And I was just very curious. It's just a really cool thing you do. It was very interesting. I was curious how you decided to approach that.
Yeah, I'd never really done that before, but I'm a fan of like people like Santi Espinosa, or like different comedians that I know here in the States that do comedy in Spanish and English. I think that's really dope, and I kind of want to break into doing Spanish sets, like even if it's just short form. So that was me kind of like dipping my toe into that.
Yeah.
Like just getting over the nerves to speak, because my Spanish isn't perfect. It's like good enough to have a conversation with somebody. Like I can survive in a Spanish speaking country, but you can, like if another Mexican hears me, they know that that's not my first language. So that was me just kind of getting over like the fear of speaking Spanish on stage, and just kind of teasing like, hey, I could do some Spanish stuff here and
If
there.
anyone wants to book me.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to do more of that.
How have you gotten better at stand-up?
I think I've just gotten more comfortable. And I think too much comfort could be a problem too, but I think I've gotten way more comfortable where like I've just been on stage so many times that I know I can go up there with no material and do okay, maybe not kill. I know I can go up there with no material and like figure something out. I also know that like no matter who's talking, like I used to get nervous about that, but I think this goes for a lot of comics. You reach a point where like you've been on stage so much, somebody could say something and it's like, bro, you're in like my house. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That stage is like I'm holding a baseball bat, man.
Yeah.
Like,
And how do you hope to get better?
I don't know how I hope to get better necessarily. I think I'd like to, I guess, I think now, lately, my challenge has been like not feeling creative enough to like everything I think of. I'm like, this is not that funny. It's not that interesting, or like maybe I'm over criticizing it or something. But so that I don't necessarily know how I want to get better. I just know like what the next challenge is, I guess.
Yeah. Do you feel like this special is special?
Yeah, to me. I don't always know what exactly it is that people like about me. I have like one perception of myself and people have another.
Yeah.
And it's a little different, but it works. So fuck it, But like my Netflix special, I feel like I got a lot of good feedback from a lot of my fans. And I hope they like this one too. But personally, I like my Hulu special better. My Netflix special, I was so nervous, and I was still very new to like being a full-time comedian and like this lifestyle change. by the time I did the Hulu special, I was way more comfortable. I was way more used to touring, and I felt like really I could be more myself on this special. Like just so yeah, personally, this is like a really good one to me.
Yeah.
I did one for Entre Nos where I did like 20 minutes. I'm wearing like Timberland boots and this green bomber jacket. We taped it here in New York, and like I felt like really good about that one. And like as good as I feel about that one, I feel about this one. This Hulu one. So I haven't felt this good about it in a long time.
All right, so now it's time for the final segment of the show. It's called the Laughing Round. It's like a lightning round, but because it's a comedy podcast, I call it the Laughing Round. Do you have a favorite joke, like a street joke or a dad joke?
Yeah, I actually do. My uncle had a book, like real thick book, with nothing but stupid jokes in it. He didn't read this to me. He read it to my mom and his baby mama, and I just heard it. And I remembered it word for word. I was like 8 when I heard it. It said, there's a man laying on the beach, and he has no arms and no legs, and he's just laying on the beach, right? And these 3 beautiful women are walking by, and the first girl comes up to him, and she feels bad. She's like, "Aw." She's like, "Have you ever been hugged?" And he's like, "No." And so she gives him a hug. And the second girl comes up to him, and she's even prettier than the first girl. And she's like, "Aw, have you ever been kissed?" And now he gets excited. He's like, "No." And so she gives him a kiss. And the third girl, the most beautiful woman on the whole beach, walks up to him. And she's like, "Aw, have you ever been fucked?" And he's like, No. And she's like, "You're about to be. There's a big-ass wave coming in." I love telling people that joke.
Is there a joke from another comedian you wish you could steal?
Yeah, a lot of them.
What's one that you were like, oh, I wish I could just have that in my act and no one would be mad?
There's 2 that I can think of right now.
Sure, go for it.
The first one is it's an old Louis C.K. bit where he talks about how, because he's Catholic, that means that according to his lifestyle, he's going to go to hell, like according to the Catholic Church, like the way he lives, he's going to go to hell, which he's not even afraid of. He's just afraid of being in new places and not knowing how things work. He's like, his biggest fear is that he'll be in hell. And like, he just walks through some hallway and some demon comes up to him and is like, "Suck my dick." And, he's just sucking off a demon until he finishes. And he's like, "How do you know when a demon finishes?" Like, just comes fire ants all over you. And then he's like, and then as soon as that demon leaves, another demon walks up to him and he's like, "Hey man, like you didn't have to suck that guy off. Like that's just some guy. Like it's just some demon. Like you better pace yourself. You're here for eternity." Which I think that's hilarious. The other joke is some Mitch Hedberg joke. He said he's like, "You can't please all the people all the time. And last night all those people came to my show." I like that joke. Sometimes when I'm feeling sad, I'll just play that like Mitch Hedberg joke. It's hilarious.
Do you have a short story of an interaction with a legendary comedian, living or dead, you're willing to share?
Yeah. I think like the first time I met Dave Chappelle, I was really nervous. I didn't know what to talk about, or what to say. I just I offered him a potato ball. I was in the middle of eating a potato ball at the Hollywood Improv, and offered, and like I was nervous. I didn't know what to talk about or anything. And when the night was over, I thought he had left already, and we were leaving, and he left his vest. And I heard that he would be back the next day, but I was just like, what if somebody steals the vest? So I was like, I guess I'll just take it and bring it back tomorrow. So like I stole it so nobody else would steal it, And somebody had let me have an ounce of mushrooms. And I was wearing the vest, and I put the mushrooms in the vest, and I left. And then Renee Vaca calls me because he was still at the Improv. Him and Ken were there, and they call me and they're like, "Hey, bro, come back." He's like, "Where you at?" He's like, "Dave Chappelle, they pulled up and they're looking for his vest. Like his team is looking for his vest." I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna turn around. Like I'm right down the street." So I turned around and I felt so bad. I just, I took it off and I just handed it to his like security guy, and they just took it and they sped off. I was like, man, he probably thinks I'm like some weirdo. And I think 2 days later, or like the next day maybe, Chappelle's he's still playing in the lab.
Yeah.
And so he invites us over to like his green room, and he has like Dion Cole there and all these people. And I went in there, and I was wanted to tell him about my mushrooms being in there because I wanted them back, but I didn't know how to like say it. And I also was like wanting to apologize because I was like, what if he gets pulled over? And
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have nothing on me, and then he has mushrooms or something. I don't know. It's just assuming the worst. So I told him at first. I said, hey, Mr. Chappelle, I'm sorry about your vest. I didn't want you to think I was trying to steal it. Like I was afraid somebody would just get rid of it or something. He was like, what? No, I didn't think you stole it. Okay. And then he just started talking, and everybody started talking, right? So I didn't have a chance to bring up the mushrooms just yet. So I'm like waiting for my moment, and then I didn't know how to say it too, because I'm not gonna be like, hey man, give me back my mushrooms. Like, this is Dave Chappelle. So I was just like, hey, I was like, in the vest, I left mushrooms. I left like an ounce of mushrooms. He's like, for real? It's like, in the vest? I was like, yeah. I was like, I was about to say, like, do you have the vest? But then, like, more people were talking. He's getting distracted, and we're all just talking and stuff. So I was like, whatever. And then I saw him, like, I don't know how many months later in Houston. He's like, hey, I got those mushrooms. Thank you for that. I was like, oh, you're welcome. Like, I was like, man, those mushrooms were gone.
And you get the story out of it. Do you have a Mount Rushmore of stand-ups?
Yeah. And it might change a little bit here and there. It's not like my set one, but yeah, I have certain stand-ups that I'm like, man, these dudes are, like, for me personally, it's like Dave Chappelle, Felipe Esparza, Mitch Hedberg. And, like, that always changes. Like, I love Chris Rock. I like Bernie Mac a lot. I love Norm Macdonald. So, I mean, it's kind of always changing. You know who's probably on there, too? I think this is one of my all-time favorite comedians. I can never get tired of hearing his jokes. Is Greer Barnes. Man, that dude is hilarious. So yeah, him too.
What is it about Greer Barnes?
I feel like, my style is considered like laid back, but I think his is like super calm and laid back. I've seen him keep one hand in his pocket and just murder. And then when he does bring it out, you're just like, oh, like, I don't know. It's just, I've seen that dude just have like killer sets, man.
Yeah.
That dude's he's a master.
Do you have a joke that has never worked, and you've tried it, but you'll go to your grave being like, I was right, they were wrong. This joke is funny.
I don't think I think deeply about, like, feel like, oh, I'm right, they're wrong. I do think, like, come on, like, it's not that not funny. Like, it's at least a little funny. It was like one of the first jokes I ever wrote, where I was saying that like, I think we have it too easy in America. Like, we have too many liberties, and we need to dial it back. Like, when you go to a restaurant or a store and you go to the restroom, on the mirror they have a sign that says employees must wash hands. It's like, but I think the sign should say everybody should wash hands. Because why are they like, employees, you better wash up. Everybody else, like, do what you want, bro. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, that joke, I didn't never got even a giggle. You're the first person to laugh
I think
at
it's
that.
pretty funny.
Right?
It is the thing that I always interpret it as they are passive aggressively telling everyone to do it.
Yeah, yeah, that too. I didn't think about that. I'm going to use that.
Then it comes back and it's like in the trailer for your next special. What's the best time you ever bombed?
It had to be like at a strip club. This is the first time I got on a showcase. It was in Texas, and they put me up at a strip club called Stilettos. And the only two people that were kind of like enjoying it or even paying attention were two people at the other end of the strip club. I'm on stage with like the pole and everything. And I'm saying the jokes, but I'm kind of getting discouraged. And one of the jokes that I said, the dude wasn't even facing me. He's facing like the wall, but he's getting danced on by this really big girl. And I just hear him bust out laughing. And then the girl that's dancing on him just also was like, good job, baby. Yeah, but the mic kept cutting out too because it was like wireless, but it was like cheap. Man, it was a horrible show. I lost money. I was supposed to get paid like $25. I got charged like $10 to get into the strip club. And then they didn't believe me that I was like a comedian on there. Like, they didn't want to hear it. They're just like, all right, pay this or don't, or get out, you know? And I was like, all right. And I had a few extra bucks for gas, but there was this man, like the strippers in there. No offense to them, but they like you don't want to dance from them. And one of the strippers was dancing on me, and I was like, I don't have money. Like, don't dance on me. I'm sorry. Like, and she was like, come on, I know you got at least a 5. Like, at least a 5. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to dance. You know. She's like, give me a 5 and I'll go away. And I was like, all right. So she's just like twerking on me like forcefully.
Yeah. Basically being like, give me money so I can go away.
Give me money or this ass is going in your face.
Why did they think this was going to work as a place for a show?
I don't know, man. I don't know why I thought that was my big break, too.
Yeah. This is going to be it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.